Hey there everyone, Rambling Collector here, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Read. So for this one, I'm going to be diving once more into David Joel Stevenson with his other work, Victor Boone Will Save Us. So for me, this work is very unique as I don't really see a lot of superhero novels out there. I've seen a lot of comic books for sure, and I've seen some that are related to DC and Marvel, but rarely have I ever seen a standalone piece for superheroes. And I've covered at least two of them on this channel, Victor Boone being one of them, and No More Heroes being another. Now, I do have the sequel to this book, I just haven't read it yet, but when I do, you can bet I'm going to be reviewing that one as well. But for now, I'm going to read to you the first chapter of this book, and I will also leave a link to the author's website down below if you want to check that out after hearing me read this one. So with that being said, let's get started, shall we? Chapter 1. I hate this part. We're surrounded by masked men with several guns pointed at hostages. Any normal human being would try to lay low for one of two reasons. Reason one would be because they could use the element of surprise, waiting until the criminals were distracted in order to execute a somewhat thought-out plan. Reason two would be because they simply didn't want to get shot. But I personally hate it because I'm an invisible sidekick to an arrogant megalomaniac with no powers, and his mouth is opened. You douchebags are in for a load of hurt, you know it? Ah, the poet speaks. Did you really expect to just walk in here in the middle of the day, in my town, and wave guns around without seeing the great Victor Boone? He says his own name with reverence. What really gets me, though, is that you grabbed the hottest chick in this city before I get a chance to. He gives the books a moment of wink and then flashes a flex of his bicep. I'm kind of surprised he still even notices women and doesn't simply stand shirtless in front of the mirror, winking at himself while he stares at his muscles. And, as always, the beautiful girl blushes and smiles sheepishly, as if they're the only two people in the room, as if there isn't a guy holding her by her red hair and zip-tied wrists. I don't get women. They all say they want a nice guy, a guy who buys them flowers and is sensitive to his own feelings and all that, but every single last one of them fall for Vic. He's never bought a girl flowers. You're not fast enough, Victor Boone, snarls one of the masked men as he scans the barrel of his gun across the innocent civilians strewn about the floor of the bank. Crap, there are even kids in here. Most of the people on the floor also have their hands zip-tied, which is fairly strange. I'm not sure why the thugs would have taken the time to tie each hostage up if they were planning on an in-and-out robbery. In my experience, very seldom does a random person fight back in a situation like this. The yells from behind firearms are generally enough to restrain would-be heroes. But, you know, not superheroes. Or maybe I should say superhero, singular. Me? Not fast enough? Vic taunts, I'd like to see one of you stupid mother... Idiot, that's definitely on my list of cues. Before he can finish saying the word, I quickly hug Victor as lightly as I can, and fly through the closed doors of the bank, shielding his fragile face from the broken glass of my transparent body. We both shoot up 100 feet in the air, out of range of camera, microphones, and normal human ears. Vic, what's your problem? I ask him as calmly as I can, which is difficult at the moment. To the rest of the world, he's hovering mid-air, having a conversation with himself. No one has a clue that I'm here. The awkward, overweight guy who is defying gravity and doing all the heroic deeds while hidden with invisibility. You heard that jerkwad, he screams at my face. He said I was slow. I can assume that he doesn't realize that my face is literally an inch from his because even he can't see me. But the fact that he's yelling when he knows I can hear things from a mile away kind of makes me want to drop him. Regardless of what he said, you need to act like a hero, I say for the millionth time. That includes the words you use, especially in front of kids. Even the word douchebags is more than I'm comfortable with when you're representing us. And would you please respect women? Even if no one else knows I exist, he speaks for both of us. It might be his face on every social media post and news bulletin, but it's my powers that put him there, and my standards are much higher than his. Blobby, you are a pushover. He enunciates each word with a scowl on his face. You might be okay with people making fun of you, but I don't stand for that kind of thing. I take a moment in order to keep my words calm, especially after hearing his nickname for me. I could spend the next 20 minutes talking about him calling me Blobby again, but it's never helped before and we have bigger problems on our hands. Or on my hands, at least. Vic, first of all, if they're trying to provoke you by saying you're slow, they're talking about me, I reluctantly explain. You are too slow. You're a normal person. You can't even outrun a football, let alone a bullet. And second of all, he didn't call us slow. He said we weren't fast enough. There are at least 15 guys with guns in there, and under most circumstances, I'd say he's absolutely right to assume at least a few bullets would meet their targets. Regardless, cut the frat boy language out, okay? I don't wait for his response because I can hear the thugs start to talk amongst themselves, wondering if the great Victor Boone ran away. I can also hear some of the news cameramen telling their tethered reporters that everyone's hero must be having one of his schizophrenic episodes again. I need to figure out a better way to keep Vic on a leash if we're going to keep working together. Fleeing the scene to have a brief come-to-Jesus meeting is starting to get really old. Of course, I'm not sure why I even think the word if when I consider getting a new partner. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with him, and he knows that too. As we quickly lose altitude, I hear one of the hostages whisper, "Victor Boone will save us," to the person next to her. "We're coming, ma'am, we're coming." Vic stretches out his arms, holding his fists straight in front of him, trying to add to the effect of his flying. He might not have any powers, but he does spend a lot of time perfecting his showmanship. We swoop back into the bank through the freshly broken glass door. Another piece of property damage that I'm hoping insurance will cover. Sorry, folks. I kick the gun out of one of the criminal's hands while simultaneously punching him in the gut and setting Vic down. The guy flies across the large room and hits the wall. I've gotten pretty good at knowing just how much force to use to knock a thug out without killing them. I've never killed anyone, and I'm pretty proud of that fact because it would be incredibly easy to do so, especially considering what some of these villains do. But that's a job for the justice system. Otherwise, how would I be any different from them? "Miss me, dirtbags?" Vic puts incredible emphasis on the name-calling to let me know he's only using the tame words sarcastically. He also combs his hair back. People probably think it's to show that he's calm and in control, but I'm pretty sure it's because he's obsessed with his hair being perfect. The split-second flight probably shook it out of place. Before anyone responds, one of the thugs pulls a trigger. Crap. I focus for a nanosecond, then rush toward the sound before the gunpowder ignites. I grab the end of the gun and point it towards the ceiling. A bullet bounces off my hand while I'm in the process of bending the barrel, and a second shot is fired. Crap. These are fully automatic weapons. I should have noticed it before now, but I've been distracted by Vic's bro speech. I hope I actually am fast enough. Luckily, only one more bullet hits my hand before the gun leaves the criminal's grasp. My foot connects with his face, and he slides into a lone officer's large wooden desk. He's going to have a major headache when he wakes up in jail, because I'm pretty sure the desk is made of solid oak. Or, really, I don't know what kind of wood it is. Tree identification is not one of my powers, but he really hit it hard, and it didn't fall apart. I toss the gun and fly after another henchman, throwing him out of the bank's entrance where the cops are waiting for him. I glance over at Vic, and he's doing what he usually does in moments like these, holding his hands out in my direction and scrunching his face in concentration. I guess there's nothing else he can do in these situations. There's really no other way to explain why his feet are stationary a few yards away from chaos. Telekinesis isn't far-fetched when it seems like he's always flying around inside an invisible force field, but telekinesis is something I unfortunately don't have. The thing is, sometimes he gets a little preoccupied with his theatrics and he starts pointing his hands where he thinks I should go, rather than where I actually am. I sort of hate to embarrass him, but I have a hard time taking his direction. Well, that's a lie. I don't mind embarrassing him. I wish I could do it more often to try to keep him humble, which is an impossible task. If any of you amateur cameramen have your cell phones out, make sure you're filming in landscape mode, Vic says while concentrating his hands incredibly hard on nothing in particular. In case you want your shot to make the news, you'll need the wide angles. That man loves being on the news. Another trigger is pulled and I rush toward the guy holding onto the redhead. A bullet ricochets off my forehead before I slip the firearm out of his hands and smash it on the ground. I gingerly punch him in the face so that I don't hurt the girl in his grip. She smells nice. There are still several bad guys with guns pointed at people, so I kick my speed up a notch to prevent any casualties. Apparently these guys are out for blood, and again that puzzles me. Usually after seeing their companions flying through the air or skidding across the floor, guys like these start running away to try to save themselves. I don't have time to consider their intentions, though. Each trigger that's pulled in my vicinity becomes my next target, and the nanoseconds start to disappear. I'm in a frenzy making sure the guns are not aimed at the hostages before their bullets leave a barrel, with masked men flying unconsciously through the air. However, there's one trigger not in my immediate vicinity. My hands are still full of hot metal and what I thought was the last evildoer's face when I turned towards the sound. The gunpowder has already ignited and the bullet trails down the barrel. When I realize what's happening halfway to the gunman, the projectile has already left the weapon and rips through flesh. "No!" I scream as I rocket my large body into the gunman, rage boiling over me like a volcano. "No!" Something clicks in me. I forced the scumbag through the exterior concrete wall of the bank, then changed direction toward the asphalt once we're outside. I'm punching him in the face as hard and as fast as I possibly can, which is very hard and very fast. Before I know what I'm doing, the tattered, bloody man is 20 feet below the street, lying in the shadows of the sewer. His head is barely still there. I have killed him. I don't care. After noticing my invisible hands hovering over his corpse, outlined in red, I wipe his blood from my fist with his shirt. I fly up through the hole in the road that I created with his body and stand on the sidewalk in front of the bank. Either no one else knows what's going on, or time is still passing so slowly for me that they haven't had a chance to move. But I walk into the bank as restrained as I can, and no one is in the way. My focus is unsteady, and I struggle to remain invisible. The chaos of the bank has ceased. The hostages are timidly looking up, discovering that no gunmen are left to hold them down. The red-haired girl is running towards the center of the room in slow motion. We're headed for the same destination. In the center of the room is a body with a single gunshot wound to the head, lying in a pool of his own blood. Victor Boone is dead. And that was chapter 1 of this book. I hope you all enjoyed as I read the first chapter, and I really hope that this will inspire you all to check it out. David Joel Stevenson is a fantastic writer, and I genuinely would recommend checking out his works. And if you want to see the reviews that I've done for this book in particular, please feel free to check it out. I will leave a link to it at the end of this video if you want to check out the review for it to see if it's really up your alley, and especially if you don't mind a bit of spoilers. But if you want to buy a copy of this for yourself, I will leave a link to the author's website in the description down below. Or if you want to check out more of the Let's Reads that I've done, I will leave a link to the playlist here at the end of this video as well. And once again, you guys, thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot to me that you guys stick around to hear me either reading books or rambling about books, and it really means a lot to me. So I can't thank you all enough. And please ignore the puppy dogs behind me. I apologize for them. But regardless, so guys, thank you so much again for listening. This is Rambling Collector, signing off for now, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day, fellow readers.